I can tell you right now what Nick Wright joining us live is going to say. I can tell you right now. Let me guess. You're going to say, oh, Colin, Buffalo. Whoa. And it's fair. But I will say that you have to give credit where credit's due. And they used to be just howitzers everywhere. No details.
Yeah.
They do look like they figured out the small stuff, which, by the way, is what Andy Reid masters in. Not only the big plays, they're so tight. Buffalo's pretty good. Can you acknowledge that?
Okay. So I haven't even spoken yet. You just that's not actually what I was going to say. What I was going to say was, did you call me a beatnik before I came on? Was that the term you used? But instead, I will focus on the back-to-back September champions and the back-to-back September MVP, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. This is their sweet spot, man. Pre-Halloween, wowing everyone, and I get it. Everyone correctly is saying, Nick, we've got to downgrade the Chiefs for playing a team as bad as the Jets, barely winning, and Mahomes having 2 turnovers, which is why we're elevating a team that lost to the Jets, whose quarterback had 4 turnovers. I mean, everyone is so prisoner of the moment. The Chiefs looked kind of bad against the Jets. The Bills lost to the Jets, and we're elevating them. But that's fine. Listen, I got no problem with it. I'm happy for Buffalo. The folks in upstate New York are good people. I went to college up there.
Yeah.
They don't win championships, so a September championship is about as good as you can hope for. Now, where I will give your herd hierarchy credit is this, and I might have this team even a touch higher. The Seattle Seahawks deserve a lot of respect, and that to me is a sneaky, scary team. Everybody is just handing the Niners the NFC West. Maybe. Or maybe the Niners lose to the Cowboys this week, and the Seahawks, if you look at, they have a bye this week, what their schedule is before. They have just a brutal 4-game stretch late in the year where they go Niners, Dallas, Niners, Eagles. Seattle, much like Kansas City, Colin, played a ton of rookies last year.
Yes.
Now, all those guys are improved players. You played 2 rookie tackles. Their offensive line's been banged up. They're winning anyway. Geno has played excellent again inside of this offense. And they're getting Jamal Adams back. We're supposed to have him back last night. He got like 2 plays. And the number 5 pick they got from the Russell Wilson trade, Devon Witherspoon.
Yeah.
They look like they have 2 awesome corners in Reek Woolen and Witherspoon. I like Seattle a lot, so I like the hierarchy, and I got no problem. Give Buffalo their September flowers. They've earned it.
So everybody was giving the Jets a moral victory, but I said, this is what great teams do. They get out to a lead, scuff around for a couple of quarters. But in the end, Zach Wilson fumbled on the biggest drive, and then Mahomes got it and went 7-24, slid, toyed, manipulated. It's like, that's exactly what good teams and good franchises do to bad teams and bad franchises. I thought that 7-minute, 24-second drive by Mahomes is just such, it felt almost Brady, but with more scrambling. You outplay him. You got him in a corner. And they figure out a way. The great Jets defense caves with 7.5-minute drive. That was my take.
So let's talk. Okay, so I have a few takes there. First of all, let's talk. I saw the show yesterday. I know J. Mack and Sauce Gardner very upset about the officiating, so let's talk about the officiating, which clearly favored the Chiefs, aside from, the safety that wasn't a safety that the ref came on the broadcast and said, yeah, that's a bad call, and the horse collar that was actually just a regular tackle that the ref came on the broadcast and said, yeah, that was the wrong call, hurting the Chiefs. And even Sauce had a very interesting comment where he said, I didn't hold him late. Colin, if I say to you, I didn't rob your house Tuesday, does that mean I didn't rob your house? Or I'm like, I didn't do it that day. Sauce seemed to be admitting to the obvious hold on MVS early in the route. But even if they had thrown a flag on, and then the missed hold, the 3rd and 22, oh my God, they missed a hold in the Mahomes scramble. There had already been a penalty on the Jets on that play, so it would have been offsetting. So what do I think Patrick would have done? Well, on 3rd and 12, he ran for a first down, and they called it back. Then on 3rd and 22, he ran for a first down. So if they'd have called it back, I bet he would have found a way, because that's what he does. And this is what I want to bring to you. Is Patrick Mahomes the most reliable scrambler we've ever seen? And by that I mean this. He's not the most dynamic, and he doesn't do it the most, and he's not as overpowering as Josh Allen or as graceful as Lamar. Understand all of that. But, Colin, has there ever been a quarterback in your life that when he takes off, you're more confident? He's going to get exactly how far he needs to. Yeah. If he needs 9 yards, he's getting 10. He seems to only run when he knows he can get it.
Yeah.
And here's a crazy stat that you're not going to be able to find anywhere, because if you look at Mahomes' career rushing average, it's 5.2 per carry. But that's because he's done so many kneel downs.
Yeah.
If you take out kneel downs, he's 7.2 yards per attempt, which is more than Allen, more than Lamar, more than Fields. So he's the most talented passer ever and might be the most efficient running quarterback ever. That's why he can have a D- game against a great defense and still have to hit the mercy button to not score 30.
Well, I think Steve Young had that ability, and Young and Mahomes are two of the smartest quarterbacks.
That's a great one.
Yeah, they're two of the smartest people that have ever played quarterback. I tell people this about Mahomes. When you discuss it, I said because he's so gifted, and Steve Young was so talented. At some point, you're like, we always said with Peyton Manning, he's a genius. Well, so was Steve Young and Mahomes, but they were so dynamic. You don't give him credit for that. Patrick's ability in running isn't just his ability to run. To your point, he's not as dynamic. He is so smart. He's so intuitive. He knows when to run. And like the Super Bowl, with a bad, he's really one of the smartest quarterbacks in league history. Now, I said this earlier today. The silver lining to the Giants is there's about 5 teams in the league we know are bad, and they're one of them. You can get out of the Daniel Jones contract in 2025. They're going to have a shot to pick the second, third, fourth best quarterback in the best college quarterback prospect draft ever. I draft another quarterback. And Daniel Jones is big, young, athletic, and the contract 2025, you're out. You can move him for a fourth-round pick. The Niners got a fourth-rounder for Trey Lance. So my takeaway is the silver lining for the Giants is Daboll can't fix him. Draft another quarterback, but we have to come to terms here. This doesn't work. That's not hyperbolic, right?
Of course. No, of course it's not. I mean, it's exactly right. And if they have a top 5 pick and they don't draft a quarterback, that to me is just unforgivable. Like, everything you said there is exactly right. Now, yesterday, I am not putting the entirety of last night on Daniel Jones.
Right.
That Seattle defensive front annihilated their offensive line, but he is who he is. And aside from the second half of one game this year, he and the whole team, but particularly the offense, has been absolutely abysmal. Colin, they have the worst point differential in the NFL, despite the fact that Denver lost by 50 and we're only 4 weeks in. Yeah. And so, yes, of course you're right. My only gripe with the Giants, and I guess you can't do anything about it now, is everyone, I thought, acknowledged the reason the franchise tag exists was for the exact scenario you had with Daniel Jones. A quarterback that you were unsure of, who in his contract year had a good season, but you don't want to commit to long term. They had it sitting right there. And instead, because they didn't want to overpay a running back, they gave Daniel this contract that, you're right, they can get out of in 2 years, but a franchise tag is just done after 1 year with no dead money. So that was a huge, to me, whiff by Joe Schoen, the general manager. But of course, you can't double down on the mistake by just riding with Daniel Jones in perpetuity when he obviously is not the guy. Obviously.
One of my favorite things about you when I first heard you is your willingness to say things that you know you'll get pushback on, but you're always willing to move the football and take chances. And you said something on my podcast at The Volume, which got a lot of play, even on local radio here in Los Angeles I was listening, is that we all know that as good as a TJ Watt is, he's not worth a point, right? Like as good as Stephon Diggs is, he's probably worth...
To the Vegas spread.
Yeah, 1 point.
Yep.
Caleb Williams tomorrow is worth 4 on a bad team, 6 on a good team, 8 on a great offensive line team. And that you said something about Caleb Williams, and I want you to repeat it here about his value.
I think he's one of the 6 most valuable quarterbacks alive. I think that right now, this moment, Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, that's for me the entire list. I know you include Justin Herbert, and some people might include Jalen Hurts, but that is the furthest end of it. Every other quarterback alive, he's more valuable than. Meaning, if you get the number 1 pick of the draft and someone calls you and says, I'll trade you Dak Prescott for it, I hang up on him. Calls you and says, I'll trade you Bryce Young for it, I hang up on him. If they call you and say, I'll trade you Lamar Jackson for him, I like you, Lamar, I hang up on them. There are certain guys, and I know people say, oh, you never know, it's a crapshoot. Sometimes, and sometimes you have a player who the first moment he walked into college football, he was playing at Oklahoma in the biggest rivalry in the country, Texas OU, as a freshman, down 21 points, and brought them back, and has never looked back since. He is now playing this season, after winning the Heisman Trophy, he is far better this year than last year. He's made one mistake the entire year, and the only reason his numbers aren't better is because up until this past week, he'd been being taken out in the fourth quarter of all these games. He is, in my opinion, Colin, and here's the other thing, I think he might be the new prototype. And by that I mean, once upon a time it was 6'4" and above, statuesque, in the pocket, those quarterbacks. That is not what we're looking for anymore. He is big enough, he is strong enough, and he is creative on a level we really have only seen Mahomes be. Yeah, I mean, this is why the Bears should not be devastated. Chicago, use your pick on Caleb. Use the Panthers' pick on Marvin Harrison. Then go pluck Ben Johnson, the Lions' offensive coordinator, away from a divisional rival. Make him your head coach and go roll. I am not trying to overhype it. I liked Baker coming out. There are other guys I've liked coming out. The only other person I've been this confident on is Trevor. And I just think he is generational upon generational, and I think it's legit with him.
All right, I only have a couple of minutes left, but I wanted your take. For years, you have accurately, to some degree, said, Boston wins the offseason, they stockpile picks, they don't win. But I did think Porzingis made them more dynamic, though I don't trust him to play over 55 games. But Drew Holiday is a much better offensive player than Marcus Smart. They'll be less reliant on Tatum to save every fourth quarter. I kind of think they jump Milwaukee here. I think Boston gets to the finals. Am I nuts?
No, well, I don't think you're nuts. It's obviously I think they are, I think relying on Kristaps is a risky bet.
Right.
But even remove him. Drew, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum as 4 of your 5 starters. Even though their head coach Joe Mazzulla doesn't value defense the way Udoka did, they will be a top 3 defense in basketball by default. You have 3 outstanding defenders in Drew, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown, and 1 good defender in Jason Tatum in your starting lineup. So I really do like what they did. And I think they needed Marcus Smart was the first guy of the young guys there. He was there before Tatum, before Brown, and he kind of took too much ownership of the offense late in games, so that could be a little addition by subtraction. So I do really like what Boston did. I just think the Giannis Dame pick and roll might end up being the most dynamic, unguardable play in the sport this year. So it's not so much that I am not believing in Boston as much as I think Giannis's destiny is to be one of the 15 greatest players ever to live. In order to do that, he needs to start making a bunch more finals, and he now has, other than Steph, the perfect complement to his talent because of the floor spacing. So I really like what Milwaukee did. But Boston deserves credit, and Miami lost the Dame trade twice. tough spot, man. You lose out on Dame and Milwaukee gets better, and then you lose out on Drew and Boston gets better. Tough spot for the Miami Heat.
As your mentor and America's honesty broker, I want to wish you a happy birthday, but also acknowledge for your birthday, instead of getting a present, a physical present, my present to you is you deal with stress playing poker or smoking cigars, and one of those has to go, and I think you know which one it is. So what are you going to give what are you going to give I worry about you.
Is this an on-air intervention? All right, well, I'm obviously not going to quit gambling. So I guess Colin Cowherd's telling me I got to quit smoking. All right, that's fine. No problem, Cowherd. I'll do that for you for my birthday. You know what I thought you were going to give me for my birthday?
What?
As my richest friend? A bunch of money. Instead, you're making me quit smoking. Thanks for nothing. Talk to you later.
Nick Wright, happy birthday to my friend. First Things First is the fastest growing show on cable and sports. He's crushing it.